Okay, can you guys clear up something for me? If Vision threw Mjolnir at some baddies during the Battle of Sokovia, does that mean that Vision's been worthy the whole time? I think he should be, because, come on now, that guy's a fucking treasure. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to yet another brand new movie review over here on my channel, and as always, I thank you all so much for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And yeah, welcome back to the Marvel Studios playlist, guys. We are making considerable progress in looking at every single Marvel Studios project so far, all just to hype up all these amazing projects that are coming out in Phase 4. But this time around, we're looking at Avengers Age of Ultron. This is the sequel that basically everybody and their mother was waiting for, especially since the credits slammed onto the first Avengers film. This one was once again directed by Joss Whedon, and it stars everybody. All of the Avengers are here. All of them. RDJ, Hemsworth, Ruffalo, Evans, Johansson, and Jeremy Renner also. They're all here. All the amazing usual suspects are returning to team up once again. And this is also an important film for right now because we're introduced here to Lizzie Olsen as Wanda Maximoff and Paul Bettany as Vision. Both of whom I think are ruling all of the geekdom right now. And of course, we also get Evan Peters in this film as Quicksilver. Oh wait, no, that's the guy from Kick-Ass. Awkward. But what's the premise here? Tony Stark basically jumpstarts a dormant peacekeeping program, and things go terribly wrong when his pet project Ultron, played by James Spader, goes absolutely rogue. This forces him, Thor, Hulk, Cap, and the rest of the Avengers to reassemble. And as the fate of the Earth hangs in the balance, the team is put to the ultimate test as they battle Ultron, a technological terror who's hell-bent on human extinction. And along the way, they encounter two mysterious and powerful newcomers, Pietro and Wanda Maximoff, better known as Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, respectively. And as per with all this Marvel talk on my channel, this video will be filled with mild to moderate spoilers. So just in case you haven't seen Avengers Age of Ultron up to this point, which is I think about 2 or 3 of you, regardless, you've been fairly warned. So before I really start to unpack this movie, guys, I have something really big that I need to get off my chest. I have a lot of friends that either really didn't like Avengers Age of Ultron or they just find it overrated. And you know what? I respectfully disagree with all of them. And keep in mind, I've only seen this one a handful of times compared to other Marvel films that I've talked about. And I do think it was especially important for me to rewatch this film right now with all the craze of WandaVision going on. And I gotta tell you guys, on this rewatch, I think Avengers Age of Ultron is a lot better than people give it credit for. It's certainly a lot better than when I remembered it the last time I saw it. This is tons of fun. This is comic book filmmaking at its absolute purest. And very much like the first Avengers film, it feels epic. These are gorgeous looking stunts. The one-liners and the quips these supers are throwing at each other, still top notch. Their chemistry on screen together, once again, fan-freaking-tastic. Speaking of, all these actors are once again phenomenal. Across the board, Hemsworth, Johansson, Ruffalo, Evans, RDJ, Renner, everyone is on top of their game here. That's a given. And come to think of it, one of my favorite aspects of Avengers Age of Ultron is the fact that we get more character development here. Maybe perhaps more character development than the first Avengers film. Not to say that that film was completely devoid of any development whatsoever, but whereas that event film felt like more of the spectacle and it was more so about all these characters coming together on the big screen for the first time, Avengers Age of Ultron tends to dig a little bit deeper emotionally. And those actually make up my favorite scenes in this movie. It's just the ones where the Avengers are sitting there and talking. I honestly think you could throw all of these characters into like a Hateful Eight situation and I would still love the movie because these characters are so well realized. One of my favorite scenes in general is the party scene where everyone tries lifting Mjolnir off the table and Chris freaking Hemsworth with that perfect grasp of Thor's macho sense of right and wrong is like, "Huh! That's because none of you are worthy." Well, maybe except for Captain America, because he slightly is nudging it off the table once he lifts it. And this little tidbit is going to be important for another film later. Speaking of Chris Evans, not only is he great in this movie, but god do I love the gimmick where everyone perceives him to be this perfect American boy who can't say any swear words. And he does so. Quite a lot, actually. And he's always told, for lack of a better phrase, in various ways. He's always told to watch his mouth. That is a fantastic recurring joke that I don't really think gets enough credit. And you know what else I really appreciate about this movie now? And I'm kind of ashamed that I took this for granted at first. But I really appreciated the additional character development for Clint Barton / Hawkeye. Added on to the fact that Jeremy Renner is damn good in this movie. The scenes that he has with his family are just heartbreaking reminders of what's still to come for him in the next couple of Avengers films down the line. Hawkeye's arc is absolutely tragic, and I can't wait to dig deeper into it with you guys. Now let's talk about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, Pietro and Wanda, who make their debut in this film. Technically, this is the first taste of the mutants that we get in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though most of the X-Men were pretty much under Fox's stranglehold at the time. But I gotta tell you guys, I think both of these characters were really cool here. I will admit though, didn't think they were the most interesting characters. And that's because they're basically just getting their big developments and exposition here. Like, we're learning about them on the side as we're still enjoying all the Avengers interacting with each other. But for what they are, they're serviceable. They're good. I really love what Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Lizzie Olsen are doing here with their dialects specifically. And they do play off of each other well. You could definitely buy that these are siblings. And of course, we're also introduced to who I think may be one of the more underrated characters in the MCU, especially right now. Paul Bettany as Vision. Man, this character's so cool. The design of him, awesome. The way Paul Bettany approaches the role, awesome. His place in the action set pieces, phenomenal. And that's another thing that I think really worked about this movie. The action is epic, just as it was in the predecessor. I thought the beginning fight scene was really exciting. I also really loved the highway fight where Barton has to catch the cradle with Vision inside. It's also the one where Black Widow is captured, as well as that final climax in Sokovia itself. I mean, just really neat stuff here. But that's actually where my issues and my nitpicks with Avengers Age of Ultron begin. While the stunts and the action set pieces are both friggin' epic, as they should be in a big crossover event like this, let's face it, this action was exactly what you were expecting. And that's not to say that this action is bad, of course not. The CGI and the stunts are unreal in here. The camera work to go along with them, stellar. I really love the fact that there's these really long takes thrown in there for good measure. I really do think everybody behind the scenes did a phenomenal job piecing this film together. But all these characters in this film are still on Earth. And I feel like with a universe as vast as Marvel's was, even at that point, there's a lot more realms that I think could have been explored with this film that they just didn't. And that's not to say they won't explore these realms ever, because yeah, we'll get to that. I just kind of think that there was a missed opportunity to dig even deeper into the universe, and at an earlier point for that matter. I mean, especially after their last film introduced the Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's another thing, there were loads more characters that could have been introduced here as well, because the new characters are definitely recognizable for the hardcore Marvel Comics fans, but as I previously mentioned, they're all getting their introductions and development within this film, while at the same time, we're also enjoying seeing the OG Avengers interact with each other again. Like, there wasn't a predecessor to hype them all up. We don't get big Marvel names introduced again until Civil War, which I think is superior to this film in every way. In short, I kind of wished Avengers Age of Ultron held a lot more big surprises and reveals, because without them, and I don't know, this may sound like a given, but it doesn't make the movie as memorable as a Civil War or an Infinity War and so forth. But I think perhaps my biggest issue with this film all boils down to this. The director Joss Whedon, I believe, has previously stated that one of his cuts for this film was 3 hours at one point. And on this rewatch, I hate to say it, but I think it shows. I would have loved more time with this film, because a good amount of these elements within Age of Ultron, especially with all these characters we're introducing, they just feel rushed, especially with this villain. Now, don't get me wrong. Ultron as he is a very fun villain. James Spader does a wonderful job with it. He's so much fun to watch. And I love the character's sarcasm as well. There are no strings on me. It's almost like if C-3PO was programmed to have the personality of Hades from Hercules. And this is a fantastic character. I love the whole concept behind him basically being a botched science experiment to keep the peace. But goodness, I can't help but feel like his storyline needed more time to build. That was literally my only thought as I saw him on screen. I was just sitting there like, didn't Stark just botch your creation? And especially if I were to buy him as a legitimate threat to take down the Avengers once and for all, he needed a lot more time to convince me that he actually could do that. And that's another thing, kind of playing into my bit about wanting more surprises. When I first saw this film in theaters back in 2015, it felt incredibly predictable. Like, the stakes were there, for sure. I'm still saying, this is a competently made film, but the ramifications of the future of the MCU didn't really feel like a matter of life and death. I hate to say it, but this honestly felt like a transition movie in some facets. And before I forget, there's something else that felt really rushed to me, and it's still something that I kind of feel on the fence about. The romance between Hulk and Black Widow. Now, again, the chemistry between Ruffalo and Johansson is solid on camera, but even on a rewatch and with the knowledge of where these characters are going in future installments, I don't know, this is still a decision that feels so out of left field to me. Now, despite the movie obviously not being perfect, there's a lot of elements that do feel rushed. It's quite a predictable outcome, and it just doesn't feel as special as the predecessor. Let me reiterate something. Avengers Age of Ultron is still a very fun film in its own right. I really did appreciate all the additional character development. I just love all of those scenes where the Avengers are just sitting in rooms talking to each other. But even on a rewatch, as much as I do enjoy it, it never really felt to me like this was the film that was gonna propel the MCU to the next level, or phase if you will. I'm gonna give Avengers Age of Ultron a B. Yeah, bottom line is this, my friends. It's a good film. It's definitely extremely well made. It feels epic. The performances are excellent. Whereas this just feels like a good film. It doesn't really match the experience of the first Avengers film. But it's good because, let's face it, we love these characters. I think we always will. But what do you guys think of Avengers Age of Ultron? Do you agree with me? Do you not? Which Phase 2 film is your favorite? I would love to discuss all of these thoughts and then some all down there in the comments. Let's have a further discussion. Because I love it. I love talking movies to you guys. I love debating and discussing cinema and entertainment with all of you. And if this sounds like something you're interested in doing along with me, if you guys are enjoying this content as well, please definitely consider hitting that big red subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It would really help out the channel immensely, folks. You guys will also be the first ones to know anytime I upload a new video over here. And it's also free, but that'll just be our little secret. And if you guys liked the video also, please be sure to leave a thumbs up on your way out. That would really help out the channel immensely as well. And as per, look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon, including the next installment in this very playlist. Man, we're already wrapping up Phase 2, because next time we're looking at Ant-Man. Let me just say, if you thought that Guardians of the Galaxy was weird, you ain't seen nothing yet. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching and supporting this channel. It really does mean the world. Look out for all that exciting content hitting this channel very soon. With all that being said, back talk, commence!